Ta-ta-ta.
What are you doing?
I'm just dusting off, getting everything ready.
Just cleaned it all.
Hello and welcome to Podpadstudios. I'm Mrs. Breaker.
Perfect. I'm Master Maker.
And we're getting ready to go up to the Birmingham NEC on the 30th of April and the 1st of May. We're going to Maker Central.
And
Yay!
we're taking this, the spinner from Blade Runner.
So we can't wait.
Really, really good.
Yep, loads of makers up there. Can't wait to meet all of you guys up there and have a big chat for all your comments you've been putting. So you come up and we can have a real good chat about making stuff.
It's going to be a nice, relaxed, brilliant place to talk about building stuff.
Yeah. And there's going to be loads to see.
That's really, really good.
Really cool.
Talking about building stuff, we've actually, unfortunately, it is just Patreon only at the moment, but you're getting all the updates on the workshops because, as we mentioned, we're redoing all our workshops here with the aim, hopefully, to basically allow people to be able to come in and see what we do a little bit more.
Yeah, meet you all face to face.
There's loads of work going on at the back, lots of digging holes and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
so it's been really,
Mrs.
really
Breaker's
good.
been lifting bricks. Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for £2 a month, you can join Patreon and find out a lot more about that if you'd like to. We'd love to see you on Patreon. In the meantime, though, we've got a bit of an update on this, the T-1 from Terminator. Have a look.
Hi, welcome back to Fun with Tracks. As you can see, the T-1 build has progressed significantly. We kind of go through milestones. Obviously, we did say that once we'd done the tracks and got through over the problems with, well, would it work? We would move on, progress onto the upper body sections, and that's kind of what's been happening. I did say at the time that I thought the upper body section would be a breeze. I thought it'd be easy and it'd be quite relaxing and I could get on with it and do it and start sculpting a robot. But to be honest, it's been just as difficult as the lower section. And I think the reason for it, I've been thinking about this, the reason for it is it's not to do with design, it's actually to do with budget. And I think sometimes people never talk about budget in these kind of builds, but I'm actually going to talk about budget in this kind of build. So interestingly, the film versions of these, and there were a few, there were completely mobile units that could articulate completely. There were radio control units. There were puppets that were fixed. They cost tens of thousands of dollars to build those things. And if you think alone, the track system alone on one of those robots, I cannot see how they could have done it for less than $10,000. The motors, the lifts are all hydraulic. So you've got all the tethers and the hydraulic bits and pieces. And then, of course, all the drive systems that drive the hydraulics. So they're expensive bits of kit, you know, solid billet aluminium. Yeah. My budget is not tens of thousands of dollars. My budget, we gave for this one £2,000. Now, at this point, while you kind of stop laughing, I actually thought it was realistic at the beginning. In fact, when I first looked at this years and years ago, it was unrealistic because I just couldn't even get the tracks done for that kind of money. I thought about getting other people to make the tracks for us, or we looked at different designs for building the tracks. But whatever happened, they always came in about £3,000 or £4,000 to make the tracks. And then when you then add on all the other bits and pieces, this is a £10,000 robot. And I'm just like, I just didn't want to spend £10,000 building this. About 6 months ago, kind of revisited the budget on this. And after sitting down and for a few hours and looking at different alternatives, got this budget down to £2,000 and thought, oh, all right then, yeah, let's do this. This is good. And to be honest, the track system, even though there were problems with different things and things did break, and I'm still not 100% confident when I'm driving it around that something isn't just going to snap, did come in at around about £1,000 to make the track system, which I'm really, really pleased with, really happy about that. However, this is where it kind of all goes wrong, because the upper section I thought, oh, it's going to be easy. Now, I'm just going to give you an example, okay? All of this, I'll just take this off here. This steel on here, all of this steel and on here is recycled steel. All of it. It's from old gazebos. You know, the gazebos that you put up in your garden. That's what the steel is from. They get blown down in the wind. People ring us up, would you like our gazebo because it blew down in the wind? And my answer is, yes, I would. Because I use the steel for things. And that's what this is. It's lightweight steel. Now, logic would suggest don't make something that is supporting a lot of weight out of lightweight steel, because what will happen? It will break. What happened? It broke. So then I had to reinforce the steel, and it just started to become a nightmare because instead of probably spending a little bit more money on better steel, trying to cut corners to save budget, I made mistakes. But anyway, those mistakes have kind of been solved now. The steel now, I've got the steel very, very strong. It's tough. It's working. My problem right now is these things. Now, for those of you that, whoops, destroying the whole robot. For those of you that don't know, these are called actuators. I'll sit down here so you can see. Now, in their build, in the film build, they used hydraulics. Now, the beauty of kind of hydraulics or pneumatics is they can deliver quite high levels of force, and you can tune them. These are actuators. These are electronic actuators, and they're basically determined. It's a screw thread. It's a motor that turns reciprocating motion into linear motion, which is, like I said, it's a screw thread in here. But you're only as good as the strength of the little motor that's on here. And so they have lifting forces. These little ones are about 30 kilos lift, and these ones are about 50 kilo lift. And obviously you have to have speed. They have to move fairly quickly. And there's a trade-off. The faster this moves, the less power, the less force it can usually lift. So you can get ones of these that will lift tons and tons of weight, but they move very, very slowly, which doesn't really suit a kind of a robot. It looks a bit silly. So choosing the right ones is really, really important. Linear actuators are a real pain. It's assembled. I know it's all been kind of doom and gloom about things not working and things breaking, but it does look super cool when you see it all kind of bolted together like this. There is not much space in here. This ceiling is about 8 foot high, so it isn't standing up at the moment. I've got to be careful rotating it that I don't take anything, like knock any predator masks off the wall. So you can see the top section spins on the rotor here. The actuators operate the top section. You can see the problem that I'm talking about now with this actuator. There's a lot to lift here. And bearing in mind, the guns aren't on and the head isn't on. There isn't going to be a massive amount more in terms of weight up here. Yeah, there's going to be the fiberglass body, and that will weigh a little bit. Round the back here, we are thinking on this section round here, solar panels. Might look good and provide some very, very useful power. You can see their guns will hang from these points, and these will articulate. What I will do, I'll just put some power onto this one so you can see this one moving. Let's get that the right way round. You see there, the gun will be in its highest position, and then the gun dropping down in its lowest position. And this is like the kind of the shoulder blades moving up and down, which will look really, really good. And if I bring it round, nothing's put together yet, obviously it's all, oh, there we go. So we can see now how far back it sits over the tracks. Now, I was worried actually at one point that it might tip up. Not a chance, not a chance. This is weighing in at over 100 kilos, and this isn't obviously 100 kilos. There's no way it's going to tip back. I mentioned a problem. Another problem I have found. Might be a problem, might not be a problem. I don't know. Comments below, please. This. Now, this is the rotational bearing point. It's motor driven. Motor is more than powerful enough to turn this whole assembly. That's not the issue. The issue I'm just wondering is this bearing big enough? Now, obviously this is going to be padded out with lots of bodywork around here, so it looks a little bit better. Remember, what you're looking at here is the skeletal underneath the actual robot. Now, in here is it's 30 centimetre, 12-inch bearing. So the motor drives from the centre, and basically the bearing sits on the outside here. Now, I'm just wondering, when I look at this, when this is in this position, whether this is going to break. There's movement on it at the moment. Actually, I'm being a bit naughty in the fact that I haven't bolted it down. Right, the reason it has to be like this is we have to take it apart, because as you remember, Mrs. Breaker insists. In fact, this is Mrs. Breaker's problem. I should get Mrs. Breaker to solve this problem. Mrs. Breaker insists that this goes in the van. If this didn't have to go in the van, don't think this would actually be a problem, because I wouldn't have to take it apart, would I? No. Anyway, so these bolts go on. We'll bolt this together when we get to an event, so we take it somewhere, so we can store the lower section and the upper section independently. So as you can see, once the bolts are on, and once these are tight down, I'm just doing it with my fingers, there's not much movement now. There's not much movement at all now. Am I being massively oversensitive here? The gap at the front here, you probably can't see this gap here, but the gap here, I can get my little finger in, here at the front. I can't get my little finger in the back. That means the bearing is lifting at the front like this. It's a steel bearing. Now obviously when I rotate it round, the gap goes now, because obviously it's not over the back, is it? The gap's now moved to the front. Is that going to be a problem? It's a very strong bearing. Am I just seeing the movement in the ball bearings, the flex in the bearings here moving? You know, there's not... Ah, there you go. There's a perfect example of the actuator not strong enough. Look. I'm not powering that. The actuator just can't hold the weight. This is why these need to go in. So there's a perfect example. If I tried to put that actuator under power now, well, first of all, that would be really stupid, because I'd probably just burn it out. It just can't lift this weight. So this is the head mechanism. I tell you what, I want to build this one quite accurate, but I am so tempted. I am so tempted to make this different. As you could see, how cool would it be to use a Predator head in there? It just looks so good. It's so tempting. You've no idea how tempting it is to take what we've got so far and make it totally Podpadstudios unique. And it might still happen, I don't know. Anyway, little demo is easy, because the head, to be perfectly honest, is going to be about the same size as this. This will show the pan and the tilt. So you can see here that we've got pan and the tilt. We can move around. This will all be servo controlled, and it'll also be gyroscope controlled. So as we move an axis controller, it'll just move the head, which will look really, really cool. Now, the other thing that the head does, as I mentioned, in its lower position, it is low down, and in its upper position, it's obviously, excuse me, it raises up. It's very difficult to do this. In fact, I'll probably leave the head on. It's very difficult to do this on the floor because it needs to be bolted. So I'm going to apply a little bit of power. It's going to be a bit jumpy, because normally this would go through speed controllers, and it would show you the mechanism. So the idea is there's a cantilever here. So as this raises, this should raise in proportion to it. So let me just put a little bit of power on here and see what happens. As you can see, it's really hard to do because it wants to fall down all the time. There, well, you can see there, I've raised it up, and you can see now the head has come up. Let me hold on to it. Let's see if that works better. See, the head comes forwards. Now, bearing in mind that we've still got full pan and tilt control over this, the head is now, and this is going to be at this point raised up nearly 10 feet high. So it's now looking down on you as its guns are raining down on you. It should look quite menacing. If I flip that the other way around, get it the right way around. There we can see there, the head drops down inside. So as we're getting towards the lowest position, the head is now tucked down inside. Still going to have all the control that we want, but it's now tucked away, and it should look quite good. So that's the head mechanism, really. Very, very simple pivot cantilever system, no motors, old-fashioned mechanical engineering.
So obviously we've got loads more updates to tell you about on the T1. It's kind of really progressed since those videos were taken. So over the next few weeks, you'll get to see loads of exciting stuff coming on
Yeah,
it.
the fiberglass was particularly
Smelly.
painful. Yeah. I mean, it's all right working like that, but it's what we call messy fiberglass. But you get really quick results. But it does go everywhere. It's a bit of a pain. It's much nicer working with metal and doing the engineering stuff, but it's all part of it though, isn't it?
It's all part of the project, and the
Yeah.
character is really coming out now. We're going to have some exciting things to announce about this project,
we have, because
hopefully, in the future.
Somebody actually commented on, it was about a tribute, wasn't it? It was about, are you just doing a replica of the T1?
Yeah.
And initially the idea was, yeah, it was kind of a tribute to that robot, really, because really not many people have done it, if anybody. However, it doesn't really add the Podpadstudios twist, does it?
No, so we've been thinking about the interaction
Yeah.
and how, when it goes out, how does it interact with the crowd? So more of that later.
And we've played around with a little bit of its character as well. So the one thing that all our robots have is oodles of character, and trust me, this one is going to have something special that you aren't going to expect.
Yeah. So find out more. Keep tuned over the next few weeks. Don't forget, join us on Patreon, only £2 a month, and you get all the updates of what's happening around the studio and all the other stuff. And
You can see Rose.
you can see Rose. So we're going to leave you with a little bit of footage of baby Rose by special request, because she has been on a lot of our shorts and people are saying they want to see more. So here you go. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell button, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.